Hello everybody. For those of you that watch my videos regularly, I told you the next up was going to be 3 Stanley 65s. But I decided to do something far more rare. Let's take a look at it. While I could have worked on these 3 number 65s, I decided instead to look on this Little Victor number 52. Little Victor, isn't that a neat looking plane? Pretty much everybody out there knows what a number 4 looks like, how big it is. Well, there's the number 4 next to the Little Victor. And there's the Little Victor next to a Stanley 101, which is the smallest of the block planes that Stanley made. The Little Victor is a full 1/4 of an inch shorter, maybe a little more. The book says the Victor is 3 1/4. This one actually measures 3 1/8, and it has a 1-inch wide iron. It may be a tiny little plane, but it's not tiny on cost. The book puts this one at $300 to $600, so it's just a wee bit salty. The John Walters book indicates it was marketed as a toy plane. I'd say this would be an expensive toy at today's standards. The difference between the 51 and 52 is one of them has a screw in the adjuster that holds the iron. The 52 and the 51 does not. Leonard Bailey made the Little Victor block planes, actually the whole line of Victor planes, before he joined Stanley. He made in these planes, the Victor was a 50, 50 and a half, 51, 51 and a half, and a 52, and they are all salty. So let's break it down. Well, that certainly wasn't the most difficult breakdown that I've ever done. There she is, all 3 parts. I'm going to clean it up with some simple green and a toothbrush. So it's been scrubbed with the simple green, rinsed off, dried with an air hose, and it gives us a good look at the Japanning on the inside. Is nearly 100%. The whatever the part's called that locks the blade in place from underneath, that also has most of its Japanning still on it. Top and bottom. Here's a little bit closer look. I used a Q-tip on the machine surface that the blade rests on there in the throat. And I'm not going to do anything to the Japanning on the sides. I'm going to coat both these pieces with my dirty oil rag and my secret oil. After working the dirty oil into every nook and cranny, it's onto the iron. Not a whole lot to do there. I'm going to use my homemade scraper, lightly scrape both sides and see what it looks like. For those of you not familiar with my homemade scraper, it's a box knife, iron blade that's got a burr on the edge of it, stuck in a piece of wood. When you've got a rare old plane like this, you want it to keep its character. You want the patina to remain. This had spots of rust on it that are now stains because the scraper neatly removed the rust, and then I lightly hit the whole thing with a 3000 grit paper in order to smooth it up and just make it look like staining instead of rust spots. The back side of the iron's got a stippled effect. You don't want to lap that out or remove it. I just used some 4/0 steel wool and buffed it up. Next, I'm going to sharpen the iron because I have to test drive everything no matter how rare and old it is. When sharpening these small irons with the sharpening guide that I use, I found it's better to put a large iron over top of them to hold it in place. So I got her all sharpened up to a razor edge without removing hardly any steel. I didn't remove hardly any of the patina on the back side. I just polished it up with 5 and 7,000 grit paper. So we'll see how it performs. I wiped off the dirty oil with some shop towels and Q-tips because there's no way you can get down in that tiny little thing. And I gave everything a coat of paste wax. Paste wax protects that 132-year-old Japanning, and it gives it a real nice smooth feel in your hands when you pick it up and paw it. So only thing left to do is put this thing back together and give it a test drive. And that is definitely one of the fastest planes as far as cleanup that I've ever done, because there's only 3 parts. And there she is, looking just as beautiful as ever. 130 years plus old. All in all, she's a real beauty. There's a look at the back side and the mechanism that locks the iron in place. And a good look at the base. The only thing left for me to do is take this one on a test drive. These little planes are best suited for doing little edge trimming, rounding corners, touch up to little imperfections here and there. They're very specialized, and so I got a little 3/4 inch piece of pine in, and we're going to see what it'll do. On the flat surface, no problem making shavings. I can round the corners off nice. It was a plane that carpenters could carry in their apron, grab it in a pinch if they needed to clean something up like I'm doing here. I mean, look how nice it rounds those corners off. I can hold it between a couple fingers. It just lets the shaving just roll right out. If it's a little rough on the top, I could run it over the top. One thing that holds true on all planes is if that iron isn't razor sharp, that plane's going to be a piece of crap. This one here is tiny as what it is, got a razor sharp iron, and it does a fine job. 130 plus years old. Passes the test. So even the little Victor number 52 has proven that it can do the work. So the Victor number 52 is clearly a fine little block plane, but I wanted to put another plug in for my Stanley number 130s, the video that I did just before this one. The 130s can really do some fine work, as you can see, and you can save money on the hair club for men. So I hope you enjoyed the video on the 52. It'll be going for sale on eBay in the month of June. On to the next planes off the pile. Time for supper. Bye.